Month after month, properties have sat on the market, untouched, as Metro Vancouver's real estate market went stale.
In January 2026, attached home sales across Metro Vancouver dropped 23.4% compared to the same month a year ago. That's not a slow month. That's a market that's quietly grinding to a halt. And the story is even sharper in North Vancouver, where townhouse sellers are sitting on properties longer than they've had to in years, watching buyers walk away, watching prices slip, and wondering what changed. Because here's the thing. North Vancouver was supposed to be the safe bet. The mountain views, the proximity to downtown, the schools, the trails. This wasn't supposed to be a hard sell. And yet right now it is. So let's break down exactly what's happening and why this problem goes a lot deeper than interest rates. To understand where things are today, you have to go back to 2022, the peak. North Vancouver townhouses were selling fast, multiple offers were the norm, and buyers were waiving conditions just to get in the door. The benchmark price for a North Vancouver townhouse hit $1,426,500 in May 2024, up 10% in a single year. Agents were fielding calls before properties even hit MLS. Then the shift happened. Not overnight, but steadily, and by the time most people noticed it, the numbers were already ugly. By December 2025, the Metro Vancouver townhouse benchmark had fallen to $1,056,600, down 5% year over year. And that's the regional average. In North Vancouver specifically, where prices were already running hotter than the metro average, the drop has been real and it's been felt. But here's what the benchmark price doesn't tell you. How long these homes are sitting. How many price reductions are happening before a deal closes? And how many sellers are quietly pulling their listings because the offers just aren't there? 2025 ended as the worst year for home sales in Metro Vancouver in over 2 decades. Not the worst since 2020. Not the worst since the financial crisis. The worst in 20-plus years, with just 23,800 total transactions, 25% below the 10-year annual average. And yet sellers kept listing. A record 65,335 properties hit the market throughout the year, the highest number ever recorded, eclipsing even the peak listing year from 2008. More sellers, fewer buyers. That's the equation North Vancouver townhouse owners are now living inside. If you're following what's happening in the Vancouver housing market and you want straight breakdowns like this one, hit subscribe. We cover this stuff every week. The first thing most people point to is interest rates. And yes, borrowing costs went up sharply in 2022 and stayed elevated. But rates have actually been coming down. The Bank of Canada cut rates multiple times throughout 2025. So if rates are easing, why aren't buyers jumping back in? Because the hesitation now goes beyond the monthly payment. It's about what comes with the townhouse, and buyers in North Vancouver have started doing their homework. The first thing they're finding is strata fees. Most North Vancouver townhouses sit inside strata corporations, and those monthly fees have been climbing. Right now, a typical townhouse in the area runs $300 to $450 a month in strata fees alone, before your mortgage, before property tax, before utilities. For a lot of buyers, that extra $400 a month changes the math completely. Then there are special levies. One-time charges that strata corporations issue when a building needs major repairs and the contingency reserve fund doesn't have enough money to cover it. Envelope work, roof replacement, drainage systems. Older townhouse complexes across the North Shore are facing these projects right now, and a single special levy can hit $20,000, $30,000, or more per unit. When buyers are doing due diligence and they see that number on the strata documents, many of them simply close the folder and move on. And then there's something that doesn't make headlines, but every agent on the ground is talking about: the broader mood. According to Greater Vancouver Realtors, the GVR's own chief economist described what's happening as buyers sitting in a wait-and-see position, shaped by trade uncertainty with the U.S., a cooling job market, and the general anxiety that comes with buying a $1.3 million townhouse when nobody can agree on what it'll be worth in 2 years. The tone in open houses shifted. People are attending, but they're not making moves. Here's the part of this story that gets overlooked. It's not just that demand softened. It's that supply kept growing right into a weakening market. Active listings across Metro Vancouver at the end of December 2025 sat at 12,550, up 20% from the year before. And that's after the market already peaked in listings back in June 2025 at over 17,500 active listings. North Vancouver wasn't immune. Townhome new listings jumped significantly through the year, and the sales to active listings ratio for attached properties region-wide dropped to just 11.1% as of January 2026. That number matters. When that ratio dips below 12% and stays there, it typically signals that prices are going to keep falling. Right now, it's sitting just below that line. Meanwhile, something else happened that North Vancouver sellers didn't plan for. Investor demand collapsed. Just 2 years ago, investors made up roughly 50% of buyers in Metro Vancouver's attached home market. By mid-2025, that number had fallen to just 7%. Those buyers, the ones who would snap up a townhouse without hesitation because the rental income penciled out, they're largely gone. Rent growth slowed, new purpose-built rental buildings flooded the market and gave tenants options, and the financial case for buying a $1.3 million townhouse to rent out stopped making sense. When you lose half your buyer pool, everything slows down. And that's exactly what happened. Here's what all of this looks like for a real person trying to sell a North Vancouver townhouse right now. You list at what your agent says is a fair price based on the last comparable sale. But that comparable is 4 months old, and the market moved in those 4 months. You get showings, but no offers. Your agent suggests a price reduction. You drop it. More showings. Buyers come in with conditions, financing, inspection, strata document review. Some of them pull out after reading the strata minutes. Others get to financing, and the bank's appraisal comes in below the agreed price, and the deal falls apart. This is the cycle agents are describing right now. Not in every case, not in every building, but often enough that the data backs it up. Sellers who bought at or near the 2022 peak are in the toughest spot. They paid top dollar into a market that's now softened, and they're carrying a $400 per month strata fee while they wait for a buyer who isn't in a rush. Meanwhile, the GVR's chief economist said in a statement this January that 2026 is likely to look a lot like 2025, tepid sales, elevated inventory, prices roughly flat at best. That's not a crash prediction, but it is a reality check for anyone who thought the North Shore was immune to what's happening everywhere else. North Vancouver is still one of the most desirable places to live in Canada. That hasn't changed. The mountains didn't move. The schools are still good. But the market right now is giving sellers a hard lesson in the difference between a great place to live and a great time to sell. The buyers who are out there have options they haven't had in years. They're taking their time. They're asking hard questions about strata finances. They're watching rates. And they're not in a hurry. For anyone with a North Vancouver townhouse on the market right now, or thinking about listing, that's the reality you're walking into. Not impossible, but harder than it's been in a long time. And based on everything the data is showing, this doesn't resolve itself quickly. Everyone's watching what happens next.